Channel 2, Chicago.
Rock Hudson stars tonight at 10:30.
This is the Sunday News with Michelle Clark, Harry Porterfield, Janet Langhart, Bruce Roberts, and Don Ramsell.
This is TV2, Chicago. Live from our newsroom in Chicago, this is TV2 News at 6 with Bob Wallace and the TV2 News team, John Coughlin and the weather, and the second part of Bob Faw's series on coal mining in Illinois.
Good evening. Bill Curtis is still on vacation, that lucky fella. He is in Florida tonight.
WBBM-TV, Chicago. This is Channel 2 News with Bill Curtis, Walter Jacobson, and the Channel 2 News team. John Coughlin with the weather, Johnny Morris on sports.
Good evening. Most of our WBBM-TV, Channel 2, Chicago.
This is Channel 2 News with Bill Curtis, Walter Jacobson, and the Channel 2 News team. Tom Alderman with the weather and Johnny Morris on sports.
Good evening. President Ford says his conscience is clear. He's never used political contributions for personal benefit.
Channel 2, Chicago.
Walter Jacobson, Terry Volkman, Johnny Morris, and Susan Anderson. With the Channel 2 News at 5. Bill Curtis, Harry Porterfield, John Coughlin, Johnny Morris, and Walter Jacobson's perspective. With the Channel 2 News at 6.
That's more than thoroughbred racing. That's entertainment.
WBBM-TV, Channel 2, Chicago.
Harry Porterfield, Bruce Roberts, Irene Rodriguez, with the weekend edition of Channel 2 News.
Bill Curtis, Mort Trim, John Coughlin, Johnny Morris, and Walter Jacobson's perspective on the Channel 2 News at 6.
Good evening. Massive cutbacks.
WBBM-TV, Channel 2, Chicago.
Bill Curtis, Walter Jacobson, John Coughlin, Johnny Morris, with Chicago's #1 news. Channel 2, the 10 o'clock news.
The front page.
Bill Curtis, Walter Jacobson, John Coughlin, Johnny Morris, with Chicago's #1 news. Channel 2, the 10 o'clock news.
Walter Jacobson, Don Craig, John Coughlin, and Johnny Morris with Chicago's #1 news. Channel 2, the 10 o'clock news.
Good evening.
Channel 2, WBBM-TV, Chicago.
Mike Parker, Susan Anderson, John Coughlin, and Howard Sudbury. The Channel 2 Weekend News.
At 5. There must be a reason. Channel 2, WBBM-TV, Chicago. Don Craig, Harry Porterfield, John Coughlin's weather, and Johnny Morris sports. This is the Channel 2 News at 6.
Good evening. Arlington Park, the premier track in
WBBM-TV, Chicago. Bill Curtis, Don Craig, John Coughlin's weather, and Johnny Morris sports. This is the Channel 2 News at 6. Mike Parker, Susan Anderson, Harry Volkman's weather, and Howard Sudbury's sports. This is the Channel 2 Weekend News.
WBBM Television, sharing the spirit of Chicago.
From Chicago's news team, this is Channel 2's First Edition.
How am I going to... Good evening.
Channel 2, sharing the spirit of Chicago.
From Chicago's news team, this is the Channel 2 Weekend News.
WBBM Television, sharing the spirit of Chicago.
From Chicago's news team, this is the Channel 2 News at 6.
Good evening.
WBBM Television, sharing the spirit of Chicago.
From Chicago's news team, this is Channel 2, the 10 o'clock news.
Lee Hart emerges.
Channel 2, WBBM Television, Chicago.
Live from Chicago's news team, the 10 o'clock news.
Good evening.
Channel 2, WBBM Television. Live from Chicago's afternoon news team. This is First Edition. Channel 2, WBBM Television, Chicago.
From Chicago's news team, live, the 10 o'clock news.
Good evening. Bill has an...
Channel 2, WBBM Television, Chicago. Live from Chicago's afternoon news team. This is First Edition.
Good afternoon.
Channel 2, WBBM Television, Chicago. Live from Chicago's news team. This is the 5 o'clock news.
5 o'clock.
Channel 2, WBBM Television, Chicago. Live from Chicago's news team. This is the 10 o'clock news.
Good evening. I'm...
WBBM-TV, Chicago. Now, Lester Holt, Linda McClellan, Kelly Folkman with AccuWeather, Corey McFerrin on sports, and the Channel 2 news team. This is Channel 2 News at 4:30.
Our top story.
Live from WBBM-TV, Chicago. This is Channel 2 News at 4:30.
They left their dog.
Live from WBBM-TV, Chicago. Holt, McLennan, McFerrin, Folkman. This is Channel 2 News at 4:30. Live from WBBM-TV, Chicago. This is Channel 2 News at 6.
After a week in the headlines.
Live from WBBM-TV, Chicago. Curtis, McLennan, McFerrin, Baskerville. This is Channel 2 News.
Good evening.
From WBBM-TV, Chicago. This is Channel 2 News at 4:30.
The crash of America.
From WBBM-TV, Chicago, this is Channel 2 News at 5:30.
WBBM-TV, Chicago. This is Channel 2 News at 6.
You're watching Channel 2 News at 6 with Bill Curtis, Joan Lovett, Steve Baskerville with weather, and Corey McFerrin on sports.
From WBBM-TV, Chicago, this is Channel 2 News at 10.
Good evening.
Watching Channel 2 News at 10 with Bill Curtis, Linda McClellan, Steve Baskerville with weather, and Corey McFerrin on sports.
This is Chicago's news. 2 News at noon.
WBBM-TV. This is Chicago's news. 2 News at 10.
Tense moments.
From WBBM-TV. This is Chicago's news. 2 News at 6.
The sun, the source of life.
From WBBM-TV. This is Chicago's news. 2 News at 10.
An incredible...
Live from WBBM-TV Chicago. This is Channel 2 News this morning.
And a good morning to you. This is News 2 Chicago. You're watching News 2 Chicago.
Good.
You're watching News 2 Chicago with Lester Holt, Linda McLennan, Steve Baskerville, and Tim Weigel. This is News 2 Chicago.
This is the 4:30 news on CBS 2 Chicago. This is the 5 o'clock news on CBS 2 Chicago. This is the 6 o'clock news on CBS 2 Chicago.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us.
This is the 10 o'clock news, reported by Carol Marie.
Good evening.
This is CBS 2 Chicago. Also,
you're watching the news on CBS 2. You're watching the news on CBS 2. You're watching the CBS 2 News at 11 with Marianne Childers, Michael Ayala, and Monty Webb. Now CBS 2 works for you. You're watching the news on CBS 2.
The final...
You're watching CBS 2 News at 10 with Antonio Mora, Tracy Townsend, Steve Baskerville Weather, and Mike Adamley Sport. Now, CBS 2 works for you.
You're watching the news on CBS 2 with John Davis, Cynthia Santana, Martina Brown Weather, and Howard Sudbury Sports. CBS 2 works for you.
You're watching the news on CBS 2 with Antonio Mora, Marianne Childers, and Jim Tillman with weather. This is CBS 2 News at 4:30. Now, the news on CBS 2. You're watching the news on CBS 2 with Antonio Mora, Tracy Townsend, Steve Baskerville with weather, and Mike Adamley on sports. This is CBS 2 News at 10.
You're watching the news on CBS 2 with Randy Salerno, Ed Curran with weather, Bill Zwecker on entertainment, Susan Carlson traffic, and Chris Habermel live from Chopper 2. This is CBS 2 News at 5.
Welcome back at 5:15.
You're watching the news on CBS 2 with Marianne Childers, Derek Blakely, Jim Tillman with weather, and Mike Adamley on sports. This is CBS 2 News at 4. Now, the news on CBS 2. You're watching the news on CBS 2 with Diane Burns, Antonio Mora, Steve Baskerville with weather, and Mike Adamley on sports. This is CBS 2 News at 5. Live from CBS 2, Diane Burns, Antonio Mora, Steve Baskerville with weather, and Mike Adamley on sports. This is CBS 2 News at 6. Live from CBS 2, Diane Burns, Antonio Mora, Steve Baskerville with weather, and Mike Adamley on sports. This is CBS 2 News at 6. You're watching the news on CBS 2 with Antonio Mora, Diane Burns, Steve Baskerville with weather, and Mark Malone on sports. This is CBS 2 News at 10. CBS 2 Morning News with Roseanne Diaz, Randy Salerno, meteorologist Ed Curran, Susan Carlson, and Bill Zwecker. CBS 2 News, Chicago's fastest growing news station. This is CBS 2 News with Diane Burns, Antonio Mora, Steve Baskerville, and Mark Malone. CBS 2 News, Chicago's fastest growing news station. CBS 2 News starts right now. CBS 2 News starts right now. This is CBS 2 News with Diane Burns, Antonio Mora, Steve Baskerville, and Mark Malone. CBS 2 News, Chicago's fastest growing news station. CBS 2 News starts right now. 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 This is CBS 2 News with Diane Burns, Antonio Mora, meteorologist Steve Baskerville, and Mark Malone. CBS 2 News, National Emmy Award winner for news coverage. Now, from the CBS 2 Broadcast Center, in the heart of Chicago, this is the news on CBS 2 HD.
This obvious.
This is CBS 2 News at 4:30. Right. This is CBS 2 News at 7.
Good.
This is CBS 2 News at 11. This is CBS 2 News at 5. This is CBS 2 News at 6.
Good evening.
This is CBS 2 News at 10. Live from the CBS 2 Broadcast Center in Chicago, this is CBS 2 News this morning.
And breaking.
Live from the CBS 2 Broadcast Center in Chicago, this is CBS 2 News at 10.
Good evening. Thanks for joining.
WBBM-TV, Channel 2, Chicago.